All right, welcome back to the channel. So, Jermell Charlo and Jeison Rosario will be facing off in a pay-per-view fight on Showtime, along with Jermell Charlo and Sergey Deverenchenko, a pay-per-view that you should definitely buy. It is one of the best fights of the year, without a doubt. And that fight I'm talking about is Jermell Charlo versus Jeison Rosario. Now, Jeison Rosario got something funny to say, or at least his trainer does, when he says that Jermell Charlo can't box, lost to Tony Harrison, and they are going to punish him. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. So, Jeison Rosario's trainer out there bumping the lips, getting people ready for this great fight, man. I am absolutely positively looking forward to this thing between Jermell Charlo and Jeison Rosario. Unification fight with the WBC, the WBA, and the IBF 154-pound belts. Jermell Charlo, who I think is one of the top 5 pound-for-pound fighters in the world, despite the fact that the mainstream media, ESPN and Ring Magazine ain't too particular on putting a lot of PBC fighters on those lists. But Jermell Charlo definitely deserves to be up there, man. This is definitely one of the best fighters in boxing. The top guy at 154 pounds. And to have him fight Jeison Rosario, to combine all 3 of those belts in this division, which has been probably the best division in boxing over the last 2 years, is just an absolutely spectacular fight, man. Absolutely spectacular fight. Now, coming into the fight, Jermell Charlo is the prohibitive favorite in this fight. Obviously, because of the amount of experience that Jermell Charlo has in championship fights, the fact that he overcame Tony Harrison probably also has something to do with the fact that, you know, Banana Jeison Rosario, whose alias he goes by moniker is Banana. The Banana's a little bit unknown. Upset win over Jeison Rosario really put him in the forefront of boxing conversations. But before that, you know, he was known as being a very solid, very strong, up-and-coming fighter out of the Dominican Republic. So this thing is what I'm really, really looking forward to, man. Now, I'm a little bit perplexed off of over what the trainer for Jeison Rosario had to say about Jermell Charlo, which was basically, look, man, this dude can't box, or he got outboxed by Tony Harrison and he lost the fight, and, you know, we're coming to punish him. So obviously, you know, the dude is not thinking that Jermell Charlo is, you know, all what he's cracked up to be. But really, you know, I think he's really just kind of talking his charge up, you know, getting the fight conversation going, because when this fight was originally mentioned, or rather, when Jeison Rosario originally beat Rocky J-Rock, I'm gonna say Rocky Martinez, man. Can you believe this? Julian J-Rock Williams, the former champion, by the way, who's just with that cursed belt, who got hit with that Jarrett Hurd curse. The Jarrett Hurd curse, in my opinion, is that WBA and that IBF belt, everybody with that belt keeps losing since Jarrett Hurd ducked Jermell Charlo. So I'm hoping that the Jeison Rosario fight with Jermell Charlo will squash that, and we can get all 3. We're definitely going to get all 3 of these belts after this fight. But regardless, Jeison Rosario is a good, solid fighter, man. But I have Jermell Charlo winning this fight, and I have him winning the fight going away. You know what I mean? Like, I just think that he's going to be able to outbox him. I think he's too quick in and out. And I think that he's going to wind up. I think I could see a stoppage of Jeison Rosario. No, Jeison Rosario has been stopped before by Nathaniel Gallimore. I don't know if that was just kind of a one-off type of thing. Rosario, I think, was winning that fight, but a straight right hand down the middle buzzed Rosario and allowed Nathaniel Gallimore to get him out of there. So, you know, I'm thinking that the same thing is going to wind up happening with Jermell Charlo, that he'll win by knockout, maybe like a a late round knockout. I just don't see Rosario being able to land, like the same type of work that that I don't see him being able to land the same stuff on Rosario landing, Rosario landing the same stuff on J-Rock that he was on, God dog, Jermell Charlo, as he did on J-Rock. I hate all of these J's in the 147-pound division. Every time I talk about this, it's J-Rock, Julian Williams, Jeison Rosario, Jermell Charlo. It's just all these dogs. Even Jaime Munguia, even though, he's not out there anymore. But anyways, forgive me for messing that name up. Anyway, man, I just don't see it. Now, there's something else that I do want to talk about on this, which is after the fight, that if Jermell Charlo is able to beat Jeison Rosario, and I do believe that there's going to be rematch clauses. I don't know in a unification fight if you have a rematch clause or not. Well, we'll assume that they don't have a rematch clause. Crazy thing is that the winner of this is going to have to fight, or their next mandatory for the WBC is going to be Erickson Lubin. Now, Erickson Lubin, who just beat Gauchard last night in a absolute snooze fest. That's the only way that I could call that fight, man. What a snooze fest. And that was not the fight. That's not the fault of anybody other than your boy Gauchard. Because Gauchard, just like when he fought Erislandy Lara, it's like, dude, you just are not trying to win this fight, man. You're just sitting back, trying to counterpunch. You're not pushing the action. Oh, man, what is just a terrible fight. But regardless, that fight was I do believe that fight was a title eliminator and puts the winner as the mandatory for the WBC title. Now, this is something else that I've noticed, dude, man. It's like the PBC is doing more of this than they had done before. Like, if you look at it, you have multiple repeat fights about to be taking place with the WBC. With Erickson Lubin. Now, watch. This is 3 fights that this is happening on. Erickson Lubin versus had beat Gauchard. Now he is the mandatory, or should be the mandatory, for Jermell Charlo, a fight that has already taken place with the WBC belt. So that's one fight that had already happened. Then you got King Tug, who also fought on this card and beat God, man, I forget the name the King Tug beat, but that was for WBC interim title or something like that, which would put him as the mandatory for Gary Russell Jr. Again, a fight that has already taken place. And then third, you have the WBC at 147 pounds putting Sean Porter in the mandatory position at the 147-pound division. So it's like, hold on, man. That fight has already taken place. So it seems like the PBC and the WBC are in bed together to make fights that we've already seen. It's just, 3 fights that we've already seen, I could understand if it was like Tug got back up there. But we already saw a one-sided, lopsided fight out of Gary Russell Jr. and King Tug. Now the Errol Spence Jr., Sean Porter, that's a competitive fight, but still, man, he just beat him. Why are you putting him back up there in the mandatory? And then Lubin has done a lot more work to get placed back into the mandatory spot for the WBC. So hats off to him. But I just find it, it's kind of interesting, man. Like the PBC is starting to behave in ways, or at least I'm starting to see, because I'm looking for it, that they're starting to behave kind of top rankish in some ways. That is starting to kind of disturb me, man. Worst thing about boxing is these sanctioning bodies. And the worst thing about boxing is the rankings. So, you know what I mean? The worst thing about boxing is the sanctioning bodies and the fact that we got 4 of them in all these daggone weight classes, and nobody can really tell who champions are. But then you have the ranking systems in here, which are completely just fake. You know what I mean? Just fake. You just see people like in the IBF where after Kell Brook beat Sean Porter, just some crazy way Sean Porter just completely disappears out of the rankings of the IBF altogether. You know what I mean? Like altogether. How does that happen? The guy, he lost a majority decision and he was your champion. How does your champion all of a sudden just leave the rankings, just completely? Just a bunch of, some crazy stuff going on, man. But anyway it goes, dude, I'm really looking forward to this Jermell Charlo, Jeison Rosario fight. I think this thing could be fight of the year. If it's not fight in the year in the ring, man, it is definitely fight of the year for me, just for the fact that it's taking place, because this is something that we could have got in 2018 between Jermell Charlo and Jarrett Hurd, and got, 3 of those belts, with one person, man. Now, unfortunately for the 154-pound division, we're not going to get anything with the undisputed, because, the WBO and Teixeira sitting out there, sitting way out there, out there by themselves, since Hyman, it's like the WBO belt, the WBO 154-pound belt. Think that, what do they go from Miguel Cotto to is it Saddam Ali? Yeah, it was Cotto to Saddam Ali to Munguia, now to Teixeira, and none of those guys really seem like they're going to mix it up with any of the fighters that hold the PBC fighters that hold those other belts. So, not terribly encouraged about undisputed for that 154-pound deal, but definitely looking forward to the fights between Jermell and Rosario. And then after that, if it's a repeat with Lubin, it's a repeat with Lubin. Lubin looks like he's a better fighter now. I still think he's going to get mopped, but that's my take. You let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that amount, peace.